All right, let's get into primary versus Mary time, because we saw the Christ session in the right hand with Trump and the voting to worship his name and then number his message and way. And the way is the W-A and the Y. 25 that you're in, taking us into the 25 of 9/11, which is your so-called Christmas spirits as you're giving your Pandora's box to been shaking this shit up. And now it's Christmas Eve, the 24th of 9/11. And you're starting to wrap it open. And all of a sudden, the one-eyed Jack fucking comes out at you. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. All right, and then you're getting your straight flush and all that. Straight flush. All these things playing out for you straight as the gates and all those things. But we see the birth of John, the wild times, and the birth of Jesus, these things interacting. But the birth of John, this easy Chariah, and the Zechariah, the ZA, the Arizona, where he's had his memorial, the Elizabeth, the Bethlehem, that leads to the Jesus, and the lizard people, all those kinds of the shapeshifters, all those things were taught on one aspect on over here. And the E, Elizabeth, has that E for electronic, the LI for the God I, and then the I is the AI for that single eye worship, and then that's the top of the capitalism, and then that's where you become that light, and you become that new heaven and earth, and you start anew and all those things. But the script for the scripture is written in multiple levels, but and then you have the ZA for the sleeping to the one. But that ZA, sleeping to the one, is where we're at kind of now, as Lucifer is being cast to the ground through the electricity, the lightning, as Thor's hammer comes in, the gold, the AU. And then the Thor is being held as Trump. And then also the weapons can be interchanged, as Han's hand on Enter the Dragon can be interchanged. So as you interchange these hands, it gives you different powers to pick up King Arthur's sword from the stone. And then also he has the trident in hand, whose heart is with the Zelen sky. And he's already put in the Zil in the sky, the Z-Ellen, and all those things, as the Putin is giving those high stakes meeting. But the John, the Wild Times, the Back to the Future 2 with the Burn on America, then Part 3 to the Wild Times, they can only use the time machine kind of one time as they're being pushed off to that cliff and to that train area. So that's where that time machine can be used, but we see other time machine movies where we see the telephone booth being used as one, and they go and gather up certain types of characters. And then you see the hot tub time machine, that's for your spaghetti, and that's for your mafia time and such as you're going to the spa. And we got the monkeys going loose for the hep C and the herpes and all those type, the herpes, the peas for the garden, and whatever those kinds of things are sprouting out, and the herpes for spraying all over the fucking toilet seat and not cleaning up after themselves, or standing up and peeing at the urinal, and the urinal for the hammering on the session for the Thor's hammer and all that stuff. Okay, so this might sound a little maritime and vulgar and such as far as the cursing and cussing, but you've only been taught those words are bad because someone told you. Otherwise, they're just words. Okay, but the John, the Wild Time, this can be like when the church is flipping, or the so-called church is like the schools, the NASA, the church people, like religion people, that God is this, God is this, God. When you got 3-Eye Atlas coming in and so-called illegal aliens stacked with aliens and all this shit going on, and whatever else, as man's being transformed and going into new heaven and earth, and whatever else is going. So, been shown all these things. Area 51, that they got the black and white alien dissection shit that you used to could see. I don't know if you can still see it anymore, but that shit looked pretty fucking real, even though it was probably fake or whatever. But it's where it's I mean, it could be stacks on these types of realities where they could have actually dissected these aliens, but we can't see the real ones. But they got to create something so fucking real because it was real, kind of thing. So it'd be like those. Man, you either get it or you don't. Okay. And I don't care if you get it, because I know other people get it, and if you don't get it, that's not my fucking problem. All right, it's your problem. I spent decades getting this information. All right, and then something so-called supernatural happened, 2020 vision, and I saw that thing in the middle, that most highlight in that graph, and either way, it's a whole other story that you can hear in some other videos back in the day. All right, but it's all laid out there for you. This page is a testimony unto itself, and it proves itself, and y'all can suck it. All right, that's what I can say. So those wild times are before you, as that primed Mary is ready to give birth, and that second coming, and the sign of his coming, and the Mary time, and the DC's dark, as all these ties and deals are being done in the dark, and the cheetahs, the fastest animal on land, is coming, and that Mako, the fastest shark, is coming. And the Mako on your November, on an early session, is taking you into that May Musk session on May days, and all those little things. It's wrapping up for your little Easter session as that balloon's dropping, and we've already seen that ballroom drop as far as Trump and rebuilding the ballroom on that east wing. And I hope those of you who have been following and such are getting the rings in the ears to understand what I'm saying on another level, because it's the Mideast war zone and such is about to pop, as that Washington and AR and that Sandy Loan, the Phantoms coming in, the spiral dragon and shit, where I've told you in the past, it seems like China, Russia, Mexico, whoever, all these people are working a 3 or 4 point plan as far as taking down America and these so-called spy rigs and whatever. And then the GPS systems have been taken over by China years back, like 2014, 15, 16 time frame or whatever, and which that's when we were told, but that's where they take over your maps and where you land, so-called, and whatever else, because the map scope and all that, the scope and the crosshairs and all that's been taken away from man. And this is where you kind of got to go and have that old done, or you got to be prepared to where you print off your directions maybe first and whatever, because the GPS or the localized EMPs, all those things can be playing out in these John the Wild times for this birth, as the things have been popping out. Okay, folks, so and this dark light birth that we've been seeing, as this time is shown on one cover with the baby birth, and it's shown with him with his hand on half body coming out of the darkness, that's half body out of there. And then while he's doing these things with China, Japan, Korea, all that stuff, as he's given the crown for that knocking on the door for that Halloween, and Halloween for the wolf coming for the sheeple, and the sheeples, the sheepings, and all that stuff, folks. But oh man, the tofu is on the grill, all right, and that's the 2 fuck you, all right. But we are here to see who they are going to fuck in the ass on the donkey's ride on the primary cross section on the right hand. Okay? But that Hebron Parkway goes through the Dallas, all right? And that Hebron Parkway basically is the HEB and that the Ron DeSantis and whatever else is where we like, they take away this, that, and the other. Well, we got so many fucking oranges, you know, you got that Sunny D lot down here. that orange juice, that tan man. All right, but this will be where these little different things are working in. All right, and then also a little gold spectrum on the old Sunny D. I've heard things through the rabbit trails, the bad bunny rabbit trails, that some of this orange juice you're drinking is 2, 3, 4 years old. Okay? So, keep drinking. The bottles, bought, see, past tense of buy. So that's the mark in the right hand to buy and sell, because the right hand is part of your heart, and oh, you just love it. I don't care what it does to my body. I'm going to drink it. Well, the government does care what you do to your body in a sense. And since these people don't care, they've been selling you shit and whatever else, and this is part of the wild times coming open. But the seed to sell tracking and all these things are going to take out all your corrupt food and whatever on the spectrum. So as it does this, it's going to bring control of the spirit. That's where your health and your hell and all of thy hell and whatever comes in, because you don't care. And there's people who do care, and they need you to care, because people are having 1 kid, if that, 2 kids, if that, or whatever. And then if they're having kids, are coming out with problems. And I didn't say it. Your community says it. That is following the same fucking moron shit that goes against everything human. All right, and that part of the beast, man, is going back to what makes man man. Okay, such as the Milky Way. No, but you're bottle fed. That's the mark of the beast. As far as stupid. But there's the mark of the beast as far as the spirit. Because you have the Greek that doesn't need the law, that operates under the spirit of earth. Or you have the Jew, and that Jew is you. And that Jew operates under the law. Well, the law has got contaminated by the so-called FDA, the Food Drug Administration, in one way, and the EPA. And whatever other industry you want to hang in the balance, the organic bullshit that can use 200 or 300 other chemicals. Well, you can't use these, but you can use these, and all this other bullshit. And you can grow vegetables and cannabis with all these other chemicals, with these bottle chemicals, but none of them are good for you and whatever else. So it's all mass operations going on. Okay, so you can't put organic nutrients in a bottle. You cannot stabilize. You have to have at least 10% minimum of a non-organic material to put into that so-called organic bottle nutrient. Okay, so it's not organic. It's just a label, the Cain and label, Abel. La la la. I can use that. It says organic. Okay. And then they put wax on a couple things to fucking sell this bullshit. Okay? Alright? So, yeah, you do want to buy if you're going to eat the outside or whatever, you don't want to buy the wax ones or whatever, but otherwise they don't get flying ass or whatever. They're just taking your money. And everything is corrupt. Everything is out of balance. The advertising ties sin. The sin is the moonlight, the begotten son. Oh, Oreo, I love you, Oreo. Even though I can't pronounce your ingredients. I don't know what you are. You're probably Crisco, but I shouldn't be eating Crisco. But I don't use Crisco over here, but it's all this. Wink up, hey, Dad. Hey, can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me.